Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in Freshman English. And we are in your hymnals now on page 745, 746. And we're looking now at a news article. We are working with comparing these two texts for information purposes, right? And we just looked at the Careers in Robotics, a case study. Now let's turn to the second one. This is the Elizabeth A. Thompson article, Team Builds Sociable Robot. Now the news article features, do you see it at the top of 745 there? The news article features information on current events, descriptions, examples, quotations, and text written for a general or specific audience. Now we're working with a news article from February 14th of 2001, so obviously it's a few years old for us. "Hello, Kismet," said Cynthia Brazil in a sing-song voice, leaning closer to the object of her attention. She asked, "Are you going to talk to me?" The exchange could be familiar to any parent, but Kismet's not a child. It's a robotic head that can interact with humans in a human-like way via myriad facial expressions, head positions, tones of voice. The goal is to build a socially intelligent machine that learns things as we learn them through social interactions, says Dr. Brazil, postdoctoral associate at MIT's Artificial Intelligence Laboratory and leader of the Kismet team. By the way, the sidebar here tells you, paraphrase the doctor's quote to be sure you understand it fully. What is the goal, in other words? Building a sociable machine, she believes, is also key to building a smarter machine. Most current robots are programmed to be very good at a specific task, say navigating a room, but they can't do much more. Can we build a much more open-ended learning system? Asked Dr. Brazil. I'm building a robot that can leverage off the social structure that people already use to help each other learn. If we can build a robot that can tap into that system, then we might not have to program in every piece of its behavior. The next heading, and again, we always pay attention to heading, inspired by kids. And then your sidebar tells you, paraphrase complex sentences and ideas like the ones in this paragraph to clarify the information. Let's see how complicated this sentence is. The work, by the way, learn when you're reading to pay attention to your commas. It will help you. The work, which began in 1997, is heavily inspired by child developmental psychology. The robot, quote, the robot starts off in a rather helpless and primitive condition and requires the help of a sophisticated and benevolent caretaker to learn and develop, Dr. Brazil said. Even Kismet's physical features, which include big blue eyes, lips, ears, eyebrows, are patterned after features known to elicit a caregiving response from human adults. The eyes, in particular, are already sensors that allow the robot to glean information from its environment, such as whether something is being jingled next to its face. Kismet can then respond to such stimuli by moving its head back if an object gets too close, for example, and communicate a number of emotion-like processes, such as happiness, fear, disgust. A human wears a microphone to talk to the robot, which also has microphones in its ears. The latter will eventually be used for sound localization. The robot's features, behavior, and emotions work together so it can interact with humans in an intuitive, natural way, Dr. Brazil said. For example, I'm at the top of 746. For example, if an object is too close for the robot's cameras to see well, Kismet backs away. This behavior by itself aids the camera somewhat by increasing the distance between Kismet and the human, Dr. Brazil said. But the behavior can have a secondary and a greater effect through social amplification. A withdrawal response is a strong social cue for the human to back away. Kismet, she noted, is the exact opposite of Hal, the menacing robot in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hal is simply a glowing red light with no feedback as to what the machine is thinking. That's why it's so eerie. Kismet, on the other hand, both gives and takes feedback to communicate, quote unquote. I think, quote, I think people are often afraid that technology is making us less human. Kismet is a counterpoint to that. It really celebrates our humanity. This is a robot that thrives on social interactions, end quote. The next heading, making it lifelike. And again, your sidebar here will say the first paragraph under a subheading often contains the main ideas of that paragraph. Paraphrasing will make these ideas clear. Let's finish now. To make Kismet as lifelike as possible, Dr. Brazil and colleagues have not only incorporated findings from developmental psychology, but have also invented the comments of cartoon animators. How do you make something that's not alive appear lifelike? That's what animators do so well. Dr. Brazil explained. The proverbial wizard behind the curtain, or in this case, wall, is a bank of some 15 computers. These process software programs that allow the robot to perceive its environment, analyze what it finds, and react. In experiments over the last year or so, the researchers have been exploring how the robot interacts with people who aren't familiar with it. Are Kismet's actions and emotions understandable? Do people use those actions as feedback to adjust their own responses? Conversely, is the robot correctly reading its visitors? Results to date are encouraging. For example, many of the people who've met Kismet have told Dr. Brazil that the robot has a real presence. It seems to really impact them on an emotional level, to the point where they tell me that when I turn Kismet off, it's really jarring. That's powerful. It means that I've really captured something in this robot that's special. That kind of reaction is also critical to the robot's design and purpose, quote unquote. Obviously, without it even saying it, we're reading an observation by Dr. Brazil, yes? Once Kismet's social skills are optimized, we can move on to other forms of learning, Dr. Brazil said. In early work to that end, the researchers are teaching Kismet how to use its voice to negotiate the social world. We want it to be able to get people to do things for it, much like a very young child. The algorithms that are crucial to this will allow the robot to learn by trial and error. When it first attempts a task, it won't be very good. The robot will remember its mistakes, however, and make incremental improvements as it goes along. It can then apply what it's learned to completing the same task under different conditions. If you're interested, by the way, in this kind of stuff, you should Google it, because a whole lot's been done since this article was written about AI. And for those of you that know anything about these driverless cars and the ways in which cars are now starting to be tested so that literally they can drive themselves right out on the street, which is quite remarkable for any number of reasons. By the way, there was a timed writing on 747, look at it with me. Robert Kohler said, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." Write a persuasive essay in response to this quote, support or refute it using details from both texts. And it's pretty easy to see that both of these texts have a way to argue that you've got to have perseverance. You can't just quit. Creating, for example, a robot, an AI robot, will take a lot of work, a lot of hard work. Well, there you go, a couple of informational texts. I hope you're learning how to read that kind of material better. Thank you.